Hello and welcome to Uplifting Conversations.
Hello,
I love
everyone.
that we get
Hello,
to do
Deanna.
Hello, Justin.
How's
I
it
was just
going?
saying that I love that we get to do this every week because I really like having conversations with you. But two, I like having conversations with all of our friends too.
Yeah.
It's been so cool to be able to connect with all of you and hear what you're thinking about and to be able to answer your questions. So keep them coming, keep them coming. We
Yes.
appreciate you being all up in our messages. You know,
I know, and it's really
it's
helping me
awesome.
learn a
Yeah.
lot. I love answering the questions and thinking about them, and I love being surprised by this community we have here. So it's really great.
So one of the things that we've been doing, not just in preparing for the podcast, but actually in preparing for life and in preparing for all the things that we do here at Uplifting Impact is listening and trying to understand what are some of the things that are top of mind. And I think big questions right now that we're hearing a lot about is engagement,
Yeah.
right? Like, what do we do to ensure that our teams engaged? And there was a statistic, and Justin, I know you really want this, so I'm gonna just go ahead and let you share the statistic. I know you have a whole like drum up, but do you want to go ahead and share the statistic that we found? Because I think people are worried that it's just in their companies, on their teams, that they're struggling with engagement. But go ahead. Let me not take your thunder.
Shocking stat.
Share it, please.
So only 33% of
Wait, do it again. Do it again, Justin. Do it again. Do it
shocking
again.
stat. I feel like there should be a running banner or like a comic book cartoon thing. Shocking stat. So here it is. Only 33% of employees are actually engaged worldwide. So you can think about that being
You said
everything from
33, like
only a
3.
third, only a third of folks. So even if you have not lost them to turnover, they are probably underperforming. They're probably quiet quitting. They're probably doing bare minimum. And even from a human standpoint, that means that they are not as motivated and inspired as they could be. So even if you're not seeing it on your bottom line for the organization, from a human responsibility aspect, a whole lot of folks aren't happy, aren't motivated, aren't inspired, and are merely compliant rather than committed. So that's really that research came from a question that we had from our community member about like kind of what makes the difference between a compliant team and a committed one. How do I move beyond merely commanding compliance and earning commitment?
And that's such a good question. And I really like appreciated that that's the way the question came in because when you are thinking that way, I think it shows your heart, right?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't really care about your team, if you I just need to get this done and I don't care how we get there, right? And that I think was to some degree like the attitude that we sometimes saw in business, right? That was something that was considered the way that business should be done. Like, I don't care how you get there, but we have to get it done, right? By any means
Yeah.
necessary. But that is not really the best way to lead. And so a person saying, look, I don't need compliant, like that doesn't feel good. I really want people to feel committed. I think that shows their heart, right? That shows what kind of leader they want to be. So
Yeah.
when we think about this idea of compliance versus commitment, I think the key to doing that, and this is something a lot, really rests in this idea of co-creating the vision.
Mhm.
Co-creating the vision. So can you talk a little bit about what we mean when we're saying that, Justin?
Yeah. So I think kind of traditional leadership models, especially in the business world, we've inherited from the Industrial Revolution. And think about a lot of the traditional titans of industry, a lot of them rose out of the Industrial Revolution or in traditional manufacturing. And that traditional model that seeks compliance, following orders, can work effectively if you're in a space where you want people to clock in, do one specific task, and clock out. But in 2025, where we are now, and in a lot of the spaces that we're in, where you're working on thought work, you need people to actually not just clock in, clock out, do what you paid them to do. It's you want to also inspire them to feel a sense of belonging, a sense of I am providing input. And this is even transformed in traditional manufacturing and production spaces as well. On the factory floor, people are like, I want more than just a paycheck. I want more than simply to do a job and a transactional relationship. If I'm going to spend so much time here, I want to have a say about what happens. And also, we live in a time of unprecedented employee volatility, where no matter what industry you're in or background, you can very quickly find a new place. So the traditional model of leadership where I command and I give orders can work when you're the only show in town, when you're the only factory within 25 miles, and people better put up with it. Yeah, we don't have that anymore. People can very easily move around. So part of what people want to do is I want to believe that I am co-creating with you. Not that you've gone off in the cave and you've created a vision on your own and then came down and told me how to comply with it, but that I actually had a hand in shaping what is happening to me. That I want to fill in a world full of all kinds of uncertainty and huge forces, geo-global, political, economic, and technological forces humanity's never dealt with before, that actually make us feel more disempowered than ever before. When I come to work, I want to feel like I have some say in shaping my life. So co-creating the vision is, don't tell me what to do. Ask me what we can do better. So rather than I have articulated this vision for you, now carry it out. It's like, nah, I'm gonna provide some input and some feedback on this. And I think where this is most difficult is for not traditional leaders. In my experience, the people who have the hardest time for this are not the traditional leaders who are command focused, like, oh, yes, I get it. I can just, it's the servant leaders who, out of the goodness of their heart, like, I don't want to put you through the messiness and the difficulty and the frustration and the confusion of co-creating. So I'll do all the dirty work for you. And then I'll come back and say, hey, everybody, here's the vision. And then they're saying, I wanted a say in this. Again, how does that measure with your experience and what you're
like
seeing?
get in the way? Yeah, sometimes, we think we're helping, right? I think we're serving, but in reality, we're boxing people out. And that's not, even if that's not our intention, that's what it can feel like. And I know for a fact, like I am definitely guilty of that, because I like to give people a fully served meal. I want the whole meal prepared. I don't want to come all the, with all the ingredients and then have us all mixing it together. When I come, I want the cake on it. I want the ice cream already a la mode on the side. I just want you to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But really, when people are participating and they get to decide what flavor the icing is going to be, and they get to, egg and put it in, like that makes it then have that ownership, really allows for them to enjoy it more. Yeah. Maybe the cake analogy is not the greatest one, because I feel like I enjoy cake when I'm making it, and also when I'm not making it. No matter how it happens, but you understand what I'm getting at, right? You kind of get where I'm going. Yeah, so it totally tracks. I mean, and I think that this idea of co-creating is something that we do, and we definitely do it naturally. But again, a lot of what we talk about here is how do we take these things that we do naturally sometimes and make them things that we do more often and intentionally. So what are some of the things that like are...
No. To be fair, it's even if we forget to co-create, it's really hard, because it can be 5 hours of me in the cave by myself coming up with a great vision, or it can turn into 3 surveys and 3 1-hour meetings 2 weeks apart. But study after study shows getting the vision started sooner does not turn out to be more productive than taking a slower amount of time. And think about it, all that People have that energy they've got to get out to put their thumbprints on it. So do you want it in the pushback after the vision has been finished, or do you want it in co-creating it beforehand? Because to get that sense of really deep need of human autonomy, when it's at the co-creating beginning stages before the thing is launched, I will be much more likely to support it more fervently and more committed to it for longer if I've had to say in its start rather than after the fact. Because Justin's got to get out his something. Like either it's going to be, I have energy, either it's I'm going to be in the input, putting it together, co-creating it, or dragging my feet once you're trying to come around afterwards and tell me what to do. So think about it. Humans need autonomy. They need to feel like they're doing something. So when are they going to be able to use that energy? Is it in the co-creating beforehand, or all the time you'll lose about them resisting, defying, or what happens most often is, okay, and then I'll just drag my feet until you forget it.
The other thing is, and I mean, this is something that is sometimes is hard, right? Because like you said,
Yeah.
what makes it hard? Why don't we do it? Because it takes more time, because we're more likely to have disagreements. You know, in our last podcast, we talked about conflict. We're more likely to have conflict. There are reasons why we avoid this idea of co-creating. But one of the other great benefits is that when you're co-creating, you're giving yourself the opportunity to figure out what are the issues, right? If I something and I'm looking at it, most often I'm seeing it through my vantage point. But the minute I bring in somebody else, like if I'm looking at something, this happens to me all the time, y'all. Like I'll be looking at something over and over and over again, and I am sure 100% that I have found every, misspelled words. My punctuation is perfect. I have no errors. And just, just like walk by, something's on the table and it's just laying out. And Penny will be like, oh, Deanna, you missed that and that. And he's not even reading it. He just sees it by chance in a glance. Why is that? Because I'm so close to it that I'm missing it, even though I'm trying, even though I think that I've seen everything. And that's a small example, but it happens all of the time. So one, you're more likely to see your errors, and you're more likely to see like gaps in your thinking if you have more people. But the other thing is you're more likely to be creative and innovative. Because I'm going to bring my like areas of expertise. I'm going to bring my like thought process. I'm going to bring my background, but I not be able to bring I'm not going to be able to bring any of the things outside of that. I'm only bringing to the table that which what I do. And so the minute I add somebody else, all of a sudden I've got like I'm exponential. I have exponentially increased the amount of talent and knowledge I'm bringing to the project. So to me, that's all.
Yeah. And even worse is if you get the compliance, if you see no resistance. Justin's talking about, people will start to drag their feet or defy it afterwards. Oh, Justin, I never experienced that at all. An even worse situation is transpiring, where every time I cook up a vision and hand it out and people eat it up and they just follow it. Every time that happens, I'm encouraging my team to be more and more passive. So when I need them to check me, when I need them to save me from my own overconfidence, I have trained them one vision at a time, one baked full cake for you. Every single time I'm bringing out a cake I fully baked, I'm encouraging people to become passive recipients rather than active producers. So even if the situation's fine, like, oh, everybody loves this and it's going well, and there's complete what seems like commitment, even if it's there's also an added opportunity to move beyond mere commitment to co-creation, moving from passive receiving to active producing. So, Deanna, how in the world do we do this? Like, what does this mean? And what does this look
like? Okay. I was really excited because I really wanted to get into these techniques. But here is one, and this is such a smart one. It's one that we actually have a little word that we like to use for it. And what we like to call it is the pre-quest. Okay. It's a play on the word request. So instead of a request, we want you to start thinking about is that instead of asking for advice, right? Because that's what a request is. Instead of asking for advice, instead of asking for instead of asking for advice, instead of approval before decisions are made. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get that approval before decisions are made. And that is critical because what you're doing is you're going in at the beginning and you're not like Justin was saying earlier, you're not waiting, getting people at that beginning phase, that pre-game, not post-game, in the rematch, but in the pre-game. Does that work? I don't know nothing about sports. But
I like it.
Kind of. Okay. It's awesome because it changes the dynamic and it allows for people to really have that authentic voice and that authentic participation.
And a good way to do a kind of gut check about, are you pre-questing enough? Are you requesting approval or pre-questing advice? A quick gut check. Are you nervous to present the stuff? If you have anxiety and nervousness about, are they going to like this? You're requesting approval and you need to scrap it, break it down, spread it out, and turn it into a pre-quest for advice. Because if you're like, oh no, I don't know what they're going to think about this, that's a quick indicator that you haven't chopped it up enough. Because if you're co-creating, if you're pre-questing, if you're seeking advice sooner from more people, more frequently, you'll never have that nervousness because you're like, oh, I'm not concerned about how they'll respond because there's no surprises. I know how they'll respond because they told me in 5 minutes at the coffee maker. And then they told me in 5 questions on the survey. And they also told me for 10 minutes on our one-on-one when I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And they also told me in the leader list meeting where I excused myself and they had 30 minutes to brainstorm. And also plain old starting with more questions about what do you think? How can we? Mm-hmm. Asking and leading with more questions, then presenting my solutions and answers and saying, what do you think? I think that's a really tough question. It might be among one of the worst. If you're asking questions, what do you think? Your thoughts? If there's any question that provides like this binaristic, yes, no, good, bad, approve, disapprove, break it up, make it smaller, and turn it into open questions about how can we? What should we? What are your ideas for? Questions about open, surprise-based, continuous improvement as opposed to thumbs up, thumbs down.
Absolutely. So that's a great skill. Can you go to another strategy, Justin?
I think.
Did I stump you?
Yes, always. You got great stumping questions. I think part of it is making sure that we're always asking people to create, even if it's like I figure out a way to word the questions and I'm not seeking their approval. It's not a yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down. Even if I ask really great questions, the greatest gift we can give people is to activate their full humanity, where they get to create something. So even if it's, do you approve this? Do you sign off on this? Finding ways to get them into questions of how would you? So also adding in that question about seeking advice is kind of almost 2 parts. How did you in the past? Because I get to not just get their advice, I get to show how much I value their experience. So even if it's, I just came from talking to a group of interns, so a bunch of folks who are like, oh, I'm not even out of college yet. But think about an awesome gift to your newest employee. Say, how have you in the past done this? Because it asks them to draw on their previous experience. And it also shows at the same time, I value your lived experience. You have things to say. I recognize your humanity. So how have you, asking for advice based on their past, but then also future focused questions too. How would you? So it's like kind of two phrases. How have you from the past, and how would you for the future? And also the great thing about this is, and once you seek advice, how have you in the past? Wow, that's fantastic. How would you in the future? Fantastic as well. Very easily turns into how can you? So it's like, oh, you had this great experience in the past. You had this great idea for the future. I'm looking for your help because, and Deanna knows this really well. She'll ask for my advice and I get all emotionally and psychologically invested in it. And then she'll be like, thanks. I love to see you do that. I'm like, oh, got trapped again.
Well, Justin, people might be thinking though, like this is a lot of questions, right? Because obviously we're talking about leading with curiosity. We're talking about asking questions. We're talking about slowing down. We're talking about engaging people. There might be this idea that, well, if we are asking all of these questions, isn't that just going to add more? Like, aren't people going to get more distracted? Like, what happens? But we actually have some information that, right? And could you explain a little bit of what the research says about this?
And I love how you go, what does research say? Shocking stat. So
Yeah.
it's really the more agency you give people, the more likely they are to commit to the final decision. The more agency and like what seems like, oh no, I'm asking all these open-ended questions, I'm asking so often, it's going to go off the rails and I'll never be able to pull folks back in. No, it actually shows that they actually end up committing to the final shared vision more deeply, for longer, more frequently. However, like Deanna, like you mentioned about how do I make sure it doesn't go too confusing, go too awry? You have to have almost like these moments where it converges. So it's showing that you're never saying no to any individual. So the same way I'm not seeking approval, yes, no from you, I'm not giving you a yes, no either. I'm giving this is what the group has said. So I'm never saying no to any individual. I'm saying yes to the group. So that's where it's great to come up with surveys or one-on-ones and constantly put them in conversation. Like, I know your cake analogy has got me really hungry and focused now. So I know you really want carrot cake. There was lots of people in the group who were really passionate about carrot cake, but there were some people here who are actually allergic to carrots. So they wanted to do this instead. Or there's a lot of people who are really passionate about strawberry shortcake and they had really great arguments, but in the end, most people wanted red velvet cake. So it's never me. I'm not seeking approval from you, but I'm also not the approval giver. I am representing and facilitating the will of the group. And that helps get commitment too, because people want to say, I want to make sure that you are listening and that you're listening to all of us, not just me.
And it allows you to step into that role. And isn't that what leadership is? I mean, leadership is holding that space for us. It's helping to bring everybody's voice to the forefront, but it's also helping to do some of that, right? Like helping us to see where those, dare I say, it's building bridges from one person to the other.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Speaking
and it's
of
exciting,
bridges,
like having
one of the things,
because there's maximum impact here with minimal things to do. Like what we talked about takes like 3 seconds. How have you? How would you? How can you? They don't take long. And that's what is so exciting about these questions that come from our audience and our community, because it's really driving what's in the Bridging Leader, which is really more than 245 very specific language tips that can transform your teams, your groups, your small committees, your families, your friendship circles at just 3 seconds a pop. And we have so many folks engaging with us and so many people excited about this. And we have all these kind of great packages that we've put together for teams. So, and in fact, just this week, we had a team of over 150 leaders get the books. So we're excited about that. People learning together like we have learned together. So join in the fun. We want to learn with you. So go to the comments underneath this video and click on the link and order your copies of the Bridging Leader today.
Yes. And they're already, you can pre-order them just like this group did for the 150 plus leaders. And we will join you next week for another uplifting conversation podcast. Can't wait to see you. Bye.
Next time. Bye.